This first video involves an individual who has become something of a celebrity among the people of Coacalco in Mexico. Shared by TikTok user El Toby, footage of a masked man went viral, having accrued over 1.7 million views in a short span after it was posted. This man constantly roams the streets of Coacalco, especially around the market areas, dressed in white hooded coveralls and wearing a face mask made of plaster. He's frequently seen jogging down roads, and many people have captured footage of him. While the man doesn't seem to be very intimidating at first sight, some people are reportedly terrified of him because of his appearance. People have drawn similarities between this man and Art the Clown from the Terrifier movie series. It is especially unnerving that the man has frequently been seen with red stains around the mouth area of his mask, as many people associate the stains with blood. There are conflicting opinions about the masked man of Coacalco. Some have claimed that the man chases them down the streets for many blocks until he finally catches them. When he does, he allegedly tells them Merry Christmas, regardless of the time of year. On the other hand, people have recorded footage of the man simply sitting down, having a meal at the market areas and relaxing. Just who is the masked man of Coacalco? Well, he is said to be in his 40s or 50s, according to some witnesses. People have suspected that he is homeless, as he has been seen many times laying on the ground around the city and picking up things off the street. However, the fact that his coveralls are always perfectly clean and white suggests that he has some method of washing clothes, which is not typical of homeless people whose clothes are frequently dirty. Some have claimed that the man may have some sort of mental illness, especially since he seems to arbitrarily decide to chase random strangers on some days just to tell them Merry Christmas. There are, however, darker theories about the man. Some suspect that he may have had an accident at some point in his life, surviving a fire which may have left extensive scarring across his face and body. This would explain the need for white clothing and the mask to protect his sensitive skin from the sun. While there are allegedly photos of the man without his mask, this is yet to be verified. As the videos of this man are fairly recent, details about the masked man of Coacalco are scarce. While it is a possibility that someday we will know the truth behind the mask, for now it's interesting to simply share in the wonder and fascination that has sparked so much curiosity, and in some cases, fear. The footage you're about to see is from mid-2023. It went viral on TikTok, gathering over 10 million views in just a short time. On May 24th, 2023, a Louisiana high school graduate named Cameron Robbins was partying with his friends on a cruise ship in the Bahamas. Robbins' family and friends described him as a natural athlete, and he was well known as a local baseball player. At 18, Robbins had just graduated 3 days prior from University Laboratory High School in Baton Rouge, and this trip to the Bahamas was their celebration. Little did they know, the celebration would soon end in horror. In the video, we can see Robbins leaping into the sea to go for a swim during the cruise. Everybody is partying, drinking, and having fun. Onlookers can be heard shouting at Robbins' daring nature as he can be seen swimming. Except something strange is happening. Instead of swimming towards the boat, Robbins seems to start swimming away from the boat. One man can be heard shouting, "Oh, bye-bye," which were potentially the last words Robbins may have ever heard, since he was never seen again. Many internet sleuths have attempted to break down the video using techniques to try to analyze it despite the poor video quality. Some claim that a shape can be seen in the water, surfacing near Robbins between him and the boat. People speculate that Robbins was trying to swim away from this figure as others were shouting at him to grab the buoy. This theory has taken a dark turn as many believe the figure in the water was a tiger shark, since the area around Athol Island is infested with sharks. According to Butch Hendrick, president and founder of public safety dive training company Lifeguard Systems, this event may not have been a shark attack after all. "I don't hear about a lot of shark attacks in the Bahamas," Butch told the New York Post in an interview. As someone who's spent decades of his life familiarizing himself with the waters in the Caribbean, including the waters near the Bahamas, Hendrick claims that shark attacks tend to involve the shark taking a bite, shaking the victim, and then leaving them. The shark wouldn't drag the victim to the depths of the ocean. Due to a lack of blood in the water and the fact that Robbins wasn't heard screaming or struggling, Hendrick claims that the behavior of the object in the water was not indicative of a shark. The Post also interviewed Christina Zanotto, an experienced diver who also works as a shark and ocean conservationist based in the Bahamas. After viewing the footage, Zanotto suspects that Robbins may have simply struggled to swim and sunk. Since Robbins can be seen just wearing a pair of shorts, he may have suffered hypothermia. If he were out there for even just an hour, a low body temperature due to the cold, evening waters combined with the possibility of alcohol in his system could have made it difficult for Robbins to stay afloat. He may also have had the wind knocked out of him upon hitting the water from a moving boat, which would explain why he seems to have sunk quickly by the end of the video. The U.S. Coast Guard and local Bahamian authorities searched over 325 square miles of ocean over the course of 2 days, but were unable to locate Robbins. Due to the possibility of hypothermia, it is highly unlikely that Robbins was able to swim to safety on his own. Many have concluded that Robbins passed away at sea, and a private memorial service was held on Sunday, June 4, 2023, at the Broadmoor United Methodist Church in Baton Rouge.
Valle de Teotihuacán y todos sus alrededores. Ya llegamos, hijos de su puta madre. San Juan, Teotihuacán, Otumba, Ajapusco.
Imagine hearing the name of your neighborhood on a purge list over social media. Imagine knowing that your neighborhood is about to be invaded by a heavily armed force, from which even the police can't protect you or your family. Well, this is exactly what happened on the social media platform X on October 6th, 2023. An organization known as the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or the CJNG, created a video which sent waves through the Mexican community. As of 2020, the CJNG is considered to be Mexico's most dangerous criminal organization. In the chilling footage shared by Diario Digital Mexico, we can see a gang of hitmen possessing high-caliber weaponry while wearing military-style uniforms and Halloween masks. After shouting obscenities, they threaten to carry out a purge and proceed to name a list of towns that they are about to take over following their arrival at Teotihuacan. The list of towns includes San Juan Teotihuacan, Otumba, Axapusco, Ocolmen, Hoquisingo, San Martin de las Piramides, San Luis, San Miguel, Isla Huaca, Zumpango, San Pedro, Santa Maria, Verificación, Oxtotipac, Tepalostoc, Nepantla, San Antonio, and Coacalco. At the end of the video, they can be heard shouting in unison, "We are the absolute mob of Mr. Menchel." The CJNG is led by a man who goes by the alias El Menchel. While the cartel is mainly known for drug trafficking, it has also diversified into other types of criminal rackets. To put into perspective just how dangerous this organization is, they are known to use drones, rocket-propelled grenades, and automatic rifles to attack their enemies. They are more violent than other criminal organizations, engaging in 298 reported acts of gang-related violence between 2018 and 2020. More than any other cartel during that period. They have even been said to cannibalize some of their victims, especially as training for new members. Given the increasing level of threats from the CJNG, El Mencho has made the top of both America and Mexico's most wanted lists, with a bounty of 10 million USD for any information leading to his capture. Considering how dreadful it is to hear a message about how your hometown is going to be invaded by such an armed force, that Halloween must have been a frightening one for the people of Teotihuacan.
Speaking of news from Mexico, you may have heard about the Mexican Congress back in 2023 holding a hearing on UFOs. This was actually the country's first congressional event on UFOs. In case you missed the news, during the Congress, 2 purported bodies of alien life forms were presented. The bodies are humanoid and small, possessing 3 fingers on each hand and elongated heads. The images later went on to become viral and were even shown on American and international news. The Mexican government has even gone as far as to claim that the specimens are not related to any life on Earth, and a Mexican journalist by the name of Jaime Maussan believes that the bodies are around 1,000 years old, according to carbon dating tests allegedly carried out at the National Autonomous University of Mexico. The bodies were recovered in Peru near the ancient Nazca lines back in 2017. The Nazca lines are famous, especially in theories involving ancient aliens. These lines are a series of geoglyphs, or large-scale drawings or images made on the ground by arranging lines of stone, scratching the earth, etc., and often are only fully visible from a distance or the air. The Nazca lines are composed of over 10,000 such lines, some of which measure over 30 meters wide and stretch over 9 kilometers. Many proponents of ancient alien theories claim that these lines, when seen from the air, resemble some sort of airport that could have been used by possible visitors to our planet thousands of years ago. The director of the Scientific Institute for Health of the Mexican Navy claimed that X-rays, 3D reconstruction, and DNA analysis have been performed on the bodies in order to verify the skeletal structure. The studies proved that the alleged bodies belonged to a single skeleton and were not assembled or manipulated. While the Mexican government holds the position that these remains are genuine, many critics are rightfully skeptical, especially since the journalist Jaime Maussan has a history of making such claims. Back in 2017, Maussan faced backlash after presenting Peruvian authorities with samples that were discovered to have been manufactured dolls with a mixture of paper and synthetic glue to simulate skin. He's also had other claims thoroughly debunked, such as mummified remains of children being passed off as alien remains. Due to the number of times fake claims have been made, it is only natural for people to remain skeptical about the validity of the information presented at the congressional hearing, especially since there hasn't been really any peer-reviewed analysis of these alien bodies outside of Mexican authorities and agencies. One of the immediate consequences of this event was the shutting down of a very particular government research website called the Underground Citadel of the Nazca Mummies. The website allegedly contained evidence of alien activity that had been collected by independent archaeologists. Such independent archaeologists are sometimes referred to as tomb raiders, due to the manner in which they excavate entirely of their own accord without any affiliation to official organizations. They raid tombs and retrieve artifacts, sometimes damaging the integrity of the sites they visit or even the very artifacts that they collect. While the website has vanished, the Wayback Machine has saved some copies of the site. It's possible to find a number of photographs and videos of strange humanoid creatures that look very similar to the live versions of the bodies shown at the Mexican hearing. These videos are low quality and definitely not definitive, but for some it's still hard to entirely disregard them since the website it was placed on also has information that seems to be legitimate, including coordinates of caves where those samples are found. There are dozens of images of those creatures, including classifications for them, with some being listed as humanoids while others as reptilians. While it's not entirely certain, there is a lot of room for skepticism, especially considering the people involved. Even so, it's still entertaining to consider the possibilities and see updates on the story in the off chance of actual alien visitation.
In this final video, we'll be delving into a deeply distressing incident, the results of which are pretty tough to stomach. Have you ever heard of Santa Dia? Being a student at the Catholic University of Leuven, Dia wanted to join a Flemish fraternity known as Roosaham. On top of KU Leuven being one of the top public universities in Leuven, Belgium, the fraternity Roosaham was considered one of the elite fraternities with an extremely challenging bar of entry. In order to join this fraternity, pledges had to undergo a hazing ritual. While these rituals are publicly frowned upon, they remain a common procedure for anyone wanting to join a fraternity. Unfortunately, the hazing of Sandadia resulted in events so tragic that it ultimately led to the dissolution of the fraternity itself. Rusaham was considered elitist among fraternities. It was founded in 1946 and was part of the Antwerp Guild of Student Societies. All of its members were students of law, engineering, and business engineering at KU Leuven. It's important to note that Rusaham was already considered a controversial organization, as it was known for a 2013 case of animal abuse involving the killing of a piglet, which had been filmed during a hazing ritual and leaked. Following this incident, KU Leuven drew up a hazing charter in an attempt to make hazing safer. This charter declared that the groups would have to disclose the place and time of hazing rituals, and to abstain from violence, racism, extortion, bullying, sexual assaults, discrimination, and the use of vertebraes. However, Rusaham and the other fraternities and sororities of the Antwerp Guild refused to sign the charter. On December 4th, 2018, Dia was one of 3 candidates, or pledges, to apply to join Rusaham. In order to join, the pledges were given a series of tasks that would end in a baptism the following morning to initiate them into the fraternity. These tasks were part of an extreme hazing ritual that was ultimately headed for disaster. The first task involved walking through the city of Leuven dressed as apostles, carrying roses, with the goal of selling these roses to people passing by. The pledges were told that whoever sold the most roses would be spared the baptism process the following morning. Following this portion of the ritual, the pledges were given ample amounts of alcohol, enough to incapacitate anyone. In fact, there's even footage at around 11:39 p.m. when 2 of the pledges are seen lying on the floor as they're being urinated on. After drinking all day, the pledges were brought back to their living quarters to sleep. This was when the first dangerous steps were taken by the fraternity members carrying out the hazing. They decided to tape up all the water taps in the house to prevent the pledges from hydrating when they woke up in the morning. The following morning, the pledges were awakened and, in their hungover states, dragged out of the bed and guided through the streets of the city to a car that would then drive them to a log cabin in the woods of Borselar, about 50 kilometers from the city. Footage has been retrieved where Dia can be seen held up by others as he staggers through the street, looking very sick. Around 1:30 p.m. on December 5th, CCTV was also captured from a store where the group had stopped on their way to Borselar. Receipts of their purchases were recovered and shown to include an assortment of odd things, such as fish oil, hot sauce, and shrimp paste. They also purchased live mice, worms, crickets, and cockroaches. Upon arriving at the log cabin, the first part of the pledge's baptism involved digging a hole in the ground. Text messages from around this time claim that Dia was, quote, ready for the rubbish bin, while the other 2 members still looked okay. After the hole was completed, it was filled with ice-cold water, and the pledges were forced to stand in it while drinking a strange concoction that was brought to them. Remember those ingredients that they had purchased? It seems that the drink was a blended mixture of those ingredients, and it was enough to make anyone vomit. Between gulps of the disgusting drink, the pledges were forced to swallow live goldfish and then to vomit them back up by drinking large amounts of fish oil. Finally, to finish the procedure, pledges were told to bite the head off of a live mouse. Once the pledges were done with these tasks, fraternity members would pour ice-cold water over them while shouting obscenities as part of the finalization of their baptism. While 2 of the pledges had completed the process and been told that they could leave, it seems that the fraternity members were not quite done with Santa Dia. However, at this point, Dia was unresponsive. There is footage of the members trying to get Dia out of the hole, and it can be seen that he isn't moving. The fraternity members end up pulling him out of the hole themselves. Dia still did not respond and simply laid on the ground in a fetal position while shaking. You'd think that anybody would be concerned enough to call an ambulance or rush Dia to the emergency room. However, it took the fraternity members a full 2 hours before they concluded that something was seriously wrong. And even then, instead of immediately seeking help, the group decided that covering their tracks was more important. It wasn't until they had fully cleaned the cabin, took out the trash, and filled out the hole that had been dug, that they finally decided to drive Dia to the hospital themselves. Footage was leaked of their conversation held in the car as the members called the hospital on the way there. The group arrived at the hospital at 9:15 p.m., but Dia was already in a coma. His body temperature was recorded at 81 degrees Fahrenheit, and he was bleeding from the nose and mouth. Due to the consumption of fish oil and the peers' refusal to let him drink water, doctors found that the salinity levels in his blood were so extreme that they were the equivalent of drinking 1.1 gallons of seawater. This level of salt toxicity led to acute cerebral edema, or swelling of the brain. Unfortunately, a few hours after arriving at the hospital, Dia passed away from multiple organ failure. The 2 other pledges were also admitted to the hospital as they were suffering from hypothermia. When a police commissioner arrived at the log cabin, they discovered that the place was completely clean. Regardless, there was so much footage recovered, including the receipts and even deleted WhatsApp messages, that there is more than enough evidence to demonstrate that what happened to Dia was not a mere accident. Despite this, it is extremely discomforting to see that in this particular situation, justice was not served. Following the events of the hazing ritual, the school was the first to receive backlash due to the lack of disciplinary action. As a result, the involved fraternity members were prevented from visiting school buildings for the first semester and had to take their courses online. They were also tasked with writing a historical paper on the ritual of hazing. The school eventually expelled 7 of the members, preventing them from registering at the university for several years, and in some cases, forever. Also, the fraternity was ultimately dissolved. In May of 2023, the Antwerp Courts of Appeal found 18 fraternity members guilty of involuntary manslaughter. However, the sentencing was woefully inadequate given the level of the crimes. The members were ordered to pay 400 euros each and to do 200 to 300 hours of community service. Damages were paid to Dia's family, including 15,000 euros to his father, 8,000 euros to his brother, 6,000 euros to his stepmother, and 1 euro to his mother by her request. To this day, no formal statement of apology has been offered to the family of the victim, neither collectively nor individually. Following the sentencing, the media reported that the lenient punishment was due to the fraternity members being sons of judges, politicians, and business leaders in the country. This led to protests throughout Belgium, which spread all the way to the Netherlands. One disturbing thing to note about all of this is that Santa Dia was the second person of color to ever apply to the fraternity. Many people question whether this could be considered a hate crime. While it isn't entirely evident, there is suspicion due to circumstantial evidence that has been found, such as photographs of some of the fraternity members dressed as KKK members at a party, and the alleged use of the N-word towards Dia. Unfortunately, there is no way to truly know whether what happened to Dia was intentional or driven by racism. The only thing that can be said is that in this particular situation, the sentencing that was given is a mockery of the justice system, and it's a shame that these students are able to walk free after committing such atrocities.